7 young men from South Korea made news this year for their comeback album and worldwide tour that has seen them making pit stops in North America, Mexico, and Europe. Their high-energy performance corresponds well with the screaming, excited audience, singing along with them to most songs, many of which are in their native Korean language. It doesn't matter. From Florida to El Paso, Mexico City to London to Paris, 50 to 80,000 strong sold-out stadiums ring with the sound of their fans, mostly female, wearing the merch and clasping the lighted balls. The only time I witnessed a somewhat sedate audience was in Palo Alto, California, where Bangtan, that is BTS, became only the second group to perform at the Stanford University's sports stadium. Coldplay were the first ones. There were conversations online, on Twitter, etc., between BTS fans known as ARMY as to why the Palo Alto concert goers were not as hyped as those in other cities. And most Twitterati agreed that it may have been because this is a university town, and concert goers were probably professors and students, some of whom may have been given free tickets. But BTS brought a lot of new business to local restaurants and gyms they frequented. The local Palo Alto network reporters only spoke to their Korean fan base about the big news of when they were coming, when they came, and when they left, making it seem like their appeal is limited to people from their homeland. But a closer look at the long lines waiting to buy t-shirts bearing the Arirang tour logo, or the audience, and a fairly diverse and non-Korean picture comes out. Mexico went all out to show BTS its love and contribution to Mexican economy. President Sheinbaum greeted them in National Palace and showed them the 50,000 fans waiting for just a glimpse of these 7 guys outside a balcony, overwhelming them and frankly giving me goosebumps. Over 3 nights, there were 150,000 attendees inside the venue, while approximately 35,000 were outside, singing along with the group. Goosebumps should also be felt whenever the Korean folk song Arirang's chorus plays as part of BTS song, because the entire crowd, full of people young and old, fluent in other languages, starts singing this Korean language anthem before RM shouts, "I need the whole stadium to jump." In Paris, French President Macron was seen holding the light bomb, called Army Bomb, with his wife, the First Lady, grooving and taking videos. BTS members end each performance by thanking the audience in their native language, while a translator is at hand too. These hard-working guys don't just have an army as fans, but an army working for them. That is a full team of a record company and agency that manages them and their careers, and endorsement deals and social media presence. A concert by BTS in a city means a mini cottage industry mushrooms overnight around tourism and travel, service industry, logistics, lodging and restaurants, ticketing and merchandise. BTS bring people to a city as opposed to just bringing people to their concert. Visitors shop and explore local attractions. Small local businesses flourish. The phenomena is known as BTSnomics, and it is compared to a company's or country's GDP. Hyundai Research Institute estimated in 2018 that BTS contributed $3.6 billion annually to South Korean economy. Another well-sourced article estimates that they account for 70% of the total revenue generated by their agency HYBE. Billboard said that their 79-date comeback tour will make more than $1 billion. The best part is just the simple joy and festival-like atmosphere wherever they perform. Their songs about mental health, hate crimes, identity, and self-love have given people hope, especially youngsters all over the world, but especially in their own country where youth suicide is rampant. A 2025 study done by Boston University School of Medicine that appeared in Journal of Preventive Medicine found that suicide rates in South Korea in adolescents ages 10 to 19 and in young adults, ages 20 to 29, have increased in 8 years, from 2015 to 2023, especially in females. And many fans say that their music helped them. It's easy to dismiss impact as fake or artificially produced by saying paid influencers or bots pump up the algorithms, but there is no CGIing this audience. The fashion, accessory and grooming choices of Jin, V, Jungkook, Jimin, J-Hope, RM, Suga, their likes in certain food, drink, makeup and skincare, jewelry, clothes, video games, anime, and various sponsorships is followed and copied by millions worldwide. The group's live Weverse conversations available on YouTube with English translations are rapidly lapped up, dissected and quoted. South Asian Dissent fans even asked Taehyung, aka V, in a recent Q&A on X, when he is coming to Pakistan, India, and Bangladesh. On Pakistan, he was like, "Only if you get me biryani and karahi." This convo is translated from Korean and is taken from X accounts that reproduce the convo. So I cannot independently verify this, but the X accounts are genuine followers of all things BTS. Since BTS has a direct connection to its fandom, their on-tour activities are tame by comparison to Western rock and rollers and their hell-raising groupies. Poor Jungkook made 3 short videos showing his tough routine from when a concert ends to when the next day's concert starts. If the members are in public, they are in a tight circle of security and managers, whether on top of Eiffel Tower or in a bowling alley. Most of all, they have managed to maintain discipline, humility, and image for 13 long years with no major report of bad behavior, internal strife, jealousies, temper tantrums, addictions, or monetary scandals, which can upend the career of a South Korean performer, indeed any entertainer. West, of course, doesn't have a boy band that has survived this long, without controversy, with song and dance skill and stamina intact, with the guys getting prettier and handsomer with age, looking and sounding better than ever. BTS have also maintained professionalism as their individual careers and separate brand identities grow. There are frequent news reports on the strict management style of Asian companies that performers must adhere to. Maybe mean stories about their off-camera behavior will come out one day, but for now, they bring joy and money wherever they go. They just boycotted the biggest and most prestigious award show in the music industry, simply because they feel that as one of the biggest draws in the world, they deserve to play in the big league categories of Best Album, Best Artist, and Record of the Year 2026, and not a regional fringe category of Asian pop music performance. Expect this to be a talking point as Grammys 2027 roll out. Expect their decision to make some noise. So that's one way to give meaning to your life and making your moment under the sun count. Simultaneously, 2 young American men are also in the news this summer. 22-year-old Tyler Robinson, the accused killer of Charlie Kirk. Kirk was the right-wing media personality who created conservative student organization Turning Point USA as an 18-year-old. An organization that captured the hearts and minds of enough young men to propel Donald J. Trump to Oval Office again and again, and in between very nearly once again. A feat acknowledged by Trump and his son Donald Jr. at his funeral. Kirk was still a young man of 31 when he was assassinated at a packed open-air university event, allegedly by the lone gunman Robinson. His pre-trial hearings were just held. The other guy doing the rounds of a courthouse on murder charges is 28-year-old Luigi Mangione, who was 26 when he allegedly gunned down a healthcare insurance company's CEO, 50-year-old Brian Thompson, in a midtown Manhattan sidewalk. The important things to remember in both these murders is that A. They were done allegedly by young white men, lone gunmen, Gen Z's lost souls, and B. young men who had never met nor interacted with their victims. Hence, both murders are committed against strangers. And see, both accused have their own set of fans who believe they did the right thing. Yes, fans full of grievance and devotion. A timeline of the suspects' movements in the Brian Thompson case from the initial 911 call and discovery of the body till the time of Mangione's arrest is given on many sites, but I'll recommend looking into the Associated Press website, as well as on NBC 15's YouTube channel under the helpful tag of Surveillance Videos Track the Shooting Suspects' Movements After the Murder of United Healthcare CEO. Dave Corporon, Fox 5 New York's news photographer, was the first media person on the scene, and he tells Liza Evers his account of ending up at the scene and what he witnessed in those early hours in another video you can check out right here on YouTube. Brian Thompson was a CEO working for United Healthcare. United Healthcare is America's largest private insurer. John H. Richardson, in his book Luigi, writes, quote, that Brian Thompson was an Iowa farm boy who was a good dad, at least judging by his decision to move into a house just a mile away from his ex-wife and kids when his marriage broke up. And yes, his hands were pretty far from the actual bloodshed. But he was making $10 million a year and sold $15 million in stock in what looks very much like insider trading. He presided over an algorithm tweak that kicked medical patients out of rehab after short stays, sometimes long before their doctors recommended. Then there's United States versus United Health Group, which accused him of knowingly and improperly cancelling a claims verification program in order to boost annual profits by $250 million, which helped the company meet revenue targets it had promised to Wall Street. With all that and a denial rate significantly higher than the closest competitors, Thompson raised United Healthcare's profits from $12 billion in 2021 to $16 billion in 2023. A 33% jump in just 2 years. Unquote. This is given in Chapter 21, St. Luigi, of Richardson's book, which was published by Simon & Schuster in 2025. The shell casings found at the scene of the crime, just next to Hilton Hotel, had "deny and depose" written on them in black permanent marker, a phrase synonymous with methods used by insurance companies to delay, deny, or get rid of paying insurance claims. These words are eerily similar to the title of J. Feinman's 2010 book, which is Delay, Deny, Defend: Why Insurance Companies Don't Pay Claims and What You Can Do About It, published by Penguin. I'm reading a portion of the introduction of the book, which is available on Amazon for a price, but it's also available for free on various websites. Quote, insurance is the great protector of the standard of living of the American middle class. A good job provides the means to acquire a home, a car, a college education for the children, and a comfortable retirement. And insurance secures those things against the uncertainties of life. Houses will burn, but homeowners insurance furnishes funds to rebuild. Cars will crash, but auto insurance pays medical bills and repair costs and guards against potentially massive liability to other people who are injured. Illness, injury, and death will occur, but health insurance, disability insurance, and life insurance remove the burden of cost and replace the lost earnings of the breadwinner. Insurance is the great protector of the standard of living of the American middle class, but only when it works. Purchasing an insurance policy is less like buying a product and more like receiving a promise. In return for the policyholder's payment of a premium, the insurance company promises to accept the risks of financial loss that the policyholder otherwise could not bear. As a formal matter, the promise to indemnify the insured against loss is embodied in the policy document. Insurance doesn't work when the insurance company fails to honor the terms of the policy and its promise of security through the strategy that has become known as delay, deny, defend. The company delays payment of a claim, denies all or part of a valid claim, or aggressively defends litigation the policyholder is forced to bring to get what he is rightfully owed. When insurance doesn't work, the consequences are more severe than when any other kind of company fails to keep its promise. If a homeowner hires someone to paint his house and the painter never shows up, the homeowner can take his money and hire someone else. If the insurance company refuses to pay a claim, it is too late to go elsewhere for another policy. No company will write a policy that will pay for fire damage that has already occurred. Delay, deny, defend violates the rules for handling claims that are recognized by every company, taught to adjusters and embodied in law. Within the vast bureaucracy of insurance companies, actuaries assess risks, underwriters price policies and evaluate prospective policyholders, and agents market policies. The claims department's only job is to pay what is owed, no more but no less. A classic text used to train adjusters, James Markham's The Claims Environment, states the principle: the essential function of a claim department is to fulfill the insurance company's promise as set forth in the insurance policy. The claim function should ensure the prompt, fair, and efficient delivery of this promise. Beginning in the 1990s, many major insurance companies reconsidered this understanding of the claims process. The insight was simple. An insurance company's greatest expense is what it pays out in claims. If it pays out less in claims, it keeps more in profits. Therefore, the claims department became a profit center rather than the place that kept the company's promise. A major step in this shift occurred when Allstate and other companies hired the mega consulting firm McKinsey & Company to develop new strategies for handling claims. McKinsey saw claims as a zero-sum game, with the policyholder and the company competing for the same dollars. No longer would each claim be treated on its merits. Instead, computer systems would be put in place to set the amounts policyholders would be offered. Claimants would be deterred from hiring lawyers to help with their claims, and settlements would be offered on a take-it or litigate basis. If Allstate moved from good hands to boxing gloves, as McKinsey described it, policyholders would either take a low-ball offer from the good hands people or face the boxing gloves of extended litigation. As the new claim strategies have been implemented, there have been an increasing number of cases in which companies have delayed payment, denied valid claims, and unnecessarily defended litigation. Minor auto accidents have become the source of major litigation as companies routinely and systematically deny claims. Homeowners can no longer be assured of receiving enough from their insurance companies to rebuild their homes and their lives. When mass disasters strike, things get even worse. After Hurricane Katrina struck in 2005, policyholders who believed they were treated unfairly by their insurance companies complained to the Louisiana Department of Insurance at the rate of $20,000 a month during the first 6 months after the storm. Thousands of policyholders sued their insurance companies. Delay, deny, defend is not restricted to auto and homeowners insurance. All insurance companies have an incentive to chisel their customers in order to increase profits. Unum, the largest seller of disability and long-term care insurance in the U.S., became notorious for failing to pay what it owed to sick or injured workers. Numerous courts castigated the company for unscrupulous tactics, nonsensical legal arguments, and lack of objectivity amounting to bad faith in denying claims. Employees who were especially aggressive in denying claims were recognized with the company's Hungry Vulture Award. Under a settlement with insurance regulators in all the states, Unum was forced to review claims denied between 1997 and 2004 and reversed its decisions in 42% of the cases, paying out $676 million in additional benefits. Almost everyone who has health insurance has a story about an arbitrary or incomprehensible denial of a claim. Unquote. Feinman's book gives case studies of various affectees, as well as the former insurance company employees, the whistleblowers. Richardson's book probably is the first one on the subject, but many documentaries have studied the Luigi phenomena, that is, glorification of a cold-blooded murderer by a section of American public. You can see names of a few of such dogs on your screens right now. Mainstream legacy media has tried to alter the sympathetic viral image of Mangione into something more sinister, when his outburst at his first court appearance was run by every major network to show a different side, an uglier side, to the otherwise picture-perfect portfolio of a guy who most probably was not going to stop with just one kill. On social media, especially TikTok, the murder was taken with glee. And once the alleged assassin was caught at a McDonald's in Pennsylvania, he received much love and support, monetary as well as physical, by his fans. Independent sources contributed to his legal expenses and defense, a total of $1 million. He has folk hero status amongst all the women and men who show up at all of his hearings held in a New York courthouse. Erotic fan fiction is written about him. He is bestowed with a savior avatar, a vigilante. There are commenters online who believe that he is more of a victim than the millionaire executive Brian Thompson. Early on, in an analysis titled Luigi Mangione Has to Mean Something, published in The Atlantic on 12th December 2024, Charlie Warzel wrote, quote, "There's the peculiarity of it all. His stop at Starbucks, his smile caught on camera. That's the moment the staffer at Hostel International asked Luigi to take off his mask and much was made about the flirtatious killer." I'll continue the article now. The fact that he was able to vanish from one of the most densely populated and surveilled areas in the world with hardly a trace. And then, of course, there's the implications of the apparent assassination, the political, moral, and class dynamics, followed by the palpable joy or rage over Thompson's death, depending on who you talked to or what you read. All of which, of course, fueled its own outrage cycle. For some, the assassination was held up as evidence of a divided country obsessed with bloodshed. For others, Mangione is an expression of the depth of righteous anger present in American life right now, a symbol of justified violence. Unquote. That is, justified violence against a system that commits social murder. But according to Gloria Oladipo, writing for Guardian on 21st December 2024, quote, "The wall-to-wall coverage of Mangione has been interpreted as a result of Thompson's status as a healthcare industry executive in a country where many people are frustrated about rising healthcare costs and lack of insurance coverage. But the acceptance of that explanation itself reflects a racist double standard. Multiple studies have shown that white male perpetrators of gun violence, especially ones in high-profile incidents such as mass shootings, are often depicted more compassionately by news outlets. According to one study, publications routinely speculate about white perpetrators' mental health as a possible explanation for their actions, painting a complex picture of their motivations, whereas suspects of color are reduced to racial stereotypes." Unquote. In the same article, Oladipo quotes Dr. Joseph Richardson, a professor of African American Studies, Medical Anthropology, and Epidemiology at the University of Maryland, that, quote, "Many have turned Mangione into a martyr, but we clearly know had he been a young black man, the narrative would be different." Unquote. Excuses have been made for Charlie Kirk's alleged murderer too. As per political commentator Candace Owens, Tyler Robinson is a patsy. She has been running an extremely successful YouTube series on the Kirk assassination, claiming a larger Israel-hashed conspiracy to get rid of Kirk, with his widow Erica Kirk being in on it, along with other TPUSA executives and maybe CIA operatives in the mix. She believes Robinson is a scapegoat, like Lee Harvey Oswald, the lone gunman accused of shooting President JFK, twice from 2 different angles, front and back. You can find these million-plus views videos all under the playlist Charlie Kirk and Bride of Charlie on her YouTube channel. She said so to Piers Morgan just as much for an hour-long interview that generated 2.5 million views for Morgan's show on 18th December 2025 that, quote, "Everyone knows Charlie Kirk was not shot by Tyler Robinson on a rooftop. Absolutely not. I haven't seen one piece of compelling evidence that Tyler Robinson scaled the rooftops like Spider-Man on a college campus that he didn't go to and fired one shot, a magic bullet shot, and killed Charlie Kirk. I just have not seen one piece of compelling evidence. In fact, I have seen more compelling evidence to the contrary." Unquote. To which an exhausted Morgan could only surmise, quote, "But I would say that, like I said at the start of this interview, I don't know whether any of the things you're saying are true or not. I just know you're saying a huge amount of stuff. It's making you very wealthy. You're getting millions and millions of people coming in." Unquote. Chris Cuomo started his most recent program by saying the following, right before he told his listeners they could get 25% off on Cowboy Colostrum, a bovine cow gut health powder supplement, by using Cuomo as code at checkout. Quote, "Is there more to Charlie Kirk's death? Was it an assassination? Seems so. By one people, by more? And by whom? Tyler Robinson? Is he another Lee Harvey Oswald? Meaning what? Well, just part of something, not everything. Is it as simple, though, as the text that we have seen? This was a confused, deranged, sick, whatever young man who acted on the increasing impulse in our society of expressing extreme politics through violence. Is that the explanation? Is that why this happened? Because Tyler Robinson didn't like what Charlie Kirk said? Maybe what he thought Charlie Kirk was about, and he thought he was defending something or protecting against something or fighting for something or fighting against something. And that's what this was. Or no, that the crime scene doesn't make sense, that what was done to the crime scene doesn't make sense, that there was intrigue within Charlie Kirk's organization, that there was intrigue involving foreign governments and Charlie Kirk. It was the Jews, it was the gays. A lot of people have gotten a lot of clicks, a lot of cash, advancing these ideas. How? Well, mostly through what is not known. Every once in a while something comes up. The angle, that the slug may not have matched the weapon. Maybe there was another round found somewhere, a bullet found somewhere. Maybe the way the scene was tampered with. Maybe what else is known or assumed or believed. Unquote. This is part of his 4-minute introduction. In that episode, Jules Epstein, introduced by Cuomo as a wrongful conviction and evidence expert, told Cuomo that it took 5 days to go through probable cause in this case. Quote, "Initial suspicion is they probably have the right person. Initial suspicion, and it's actually more than suspicion, is they certainly put on a case that under Utah law would let them go ahead to trial. And under Utah law, and this is true in lots of the states, a preliminary hearing does not ask, is this guy guilty? It asks, is there a modest probability, not even 50%, that a crime was committed? Using that low threshold, they dotted the I's and crossed the T's." Unquote. And Mark Eiglarsh, a regular on Court TV, says that the judge was being very careful in making a ruling. Quote, "I like that he listens to both sides. I like that he's careful. But the pendulum has swung so far in the other direction, that is the direction of the conspiracy theories, that he's so cautious that he's delaying a ruling that should have been made already. Probable cause? These typically are resolved in an hour, 2 hours. The fact that it took 5 days is unheard of." Unquote. As per CNN, in a report filed by Nikki Brown and Andy Babineau on 11th July 2026, quote, "During the 5-day preliminary hearing, the Utah County Attorney's Office displayed campus surveillance video around the time of the shooting. Alleged messages from Robinson prosecutors describe as a confession, and a videotaped interview with a key witness, Robinson's former roommate and romantic partner. The defense, meanwhile, worked to undercut the forensic evidence and raise questions about law enforcement's handling of the investigation. Robinson's attorneys called 3 witnesses to testify about the results of DNA and ballistic testing. But Robinson himself did not take the stand, choosing to heed his attorney's advice, his defense team said. Prosecutors displayed the results from ballistics and DNA testing they argue links Robinson to the alleged murder weapon, a certain caliber's bolt-action rifle found wrapped in a towel in a wooded area near campus. The rifle contained 1 spent cartridge casing and 3 unfired rounds, which were each engraved with messages, said Sergeant Jennifer Formuina, an investigator with the State Bureau of Investigation called to testify by prosecutors. Roughly a month before Kirk's killing, Twiggs, Robinson's roommate, said Robinson asked for a Dremel, a tool used for sanding or grinding, to engrave bullets for an upcoming family hunting trip. Police later seized a Dremel and several cartridge casings, which were the same type of round found in the rifle, from the home he shared with Twiggs. Formuena said. One of the casings had the words "test shot" engraved on it, according to a photo displayed in court. The cartridge casings found inside Robinson's home had been fired by the rifle found near campus, according to a U.S. Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms and Explosives report read in court. An ATF analysis also determined the recovered Dremel tool made the engravings on the cartridges, found with the rifle and inside Robinson's home. However, an ATF analysis concluded a bullet jacket fragment recovered from Kirk's body could not be identified or excluded as having been fired from the rifle. The result of the comparison was inconclusive, the report said, a conclusion the defense has previously suggested could be exculpatory. ATF examiner Samantha Garner, the report's author, was called to testify by the defense and said she was unable to say one way or another due to a lack of microscopic marks on the bullet jacket fragment. Unquote. I've been reading from the CNN report on the 5-day Tyler Robinson hearing. The evidence presented has convinced Vinnie Politan of Tyler Robinson's guilt. Politan is the star anchor for Court TV. Court TV has gone through a rebrand in the last year after it was sold to Jelly Smack, owner of Court TV's longtime rival, Law and Crime Network. Earlier this year, Independent.co.uk reported that roughly a dozen staff members were retained out of the original 50 employees, with most of on-air live production staff cut, turning Court TV into a linear cable channel with a heightened digital presence, concentrating on live coverage of civil and criminal trials and reruns of fan faves like Someone They Knew with Tamron Hall and CBS's 48 Hours Mystery. Since the announcement, the rebrand, and the takeover, Politan's show, Vinnie Politan Investigates, VPI, looks more like the Bruce Rivers YouTube show, in which defense lawyer Rivers watches and comments on crime-related videos, confessions, police body cam footage, trials, witness testimonies, etc., giving legal advice as well as entertaining zingers from his office. Now Politan does the same thing, without giving legal advice, of course, and without inviting guests. Sitting in an oversized black leather chair in a green room with CGI effects or just the attic or basement in his home, no set. Framed in a medium close-up shot, looking straight ahead at a camera and speaking in a microphone placed nearby. Bruce Rivers has an independent show. He's not connected to any network or any platform. Politan sometimes calls in a reporter such as the great Cody Thomas, who has been retained by Court TV. Matt Johnson was let go and now he has his own YouTube channel titled Justice with Matt Johnson. Former host Julie Grant, who was also critical of Luigi Mangione's laughing, joking GQ model demeanor in criminal court, was also let go from Court TV, and she has just launched a podcast, Take Me to Trial, through One Team Media production company. So Politan will either call Cody Thomas or a reporter working for local channels such as NBC LA, or some podcaster covering a trial. This is a side note, but the true crime podcast arena is oversaturated at this point, frankly. Reporter Nate Eaton, who covered the Corey Richards murder trial for EastIdahoNews.com, the site runs on donations, now has his own Courtroom Insider channel. Then there's MK True Crime Show launched by Megyn Kelly, who also backed Maureen Callahan's Memefest celeb gossip channel. MK True Crime has a rotary of regulars such as defense attorney Mark Geragos, former trial prosecutor Matt Murphy, former state attorney Dave Aronberg. And all of these people are hopping in and out of each other's channel for an episode or segment. So you're likely to see the same face across multiple YouTube channels, hence the oversaturation. And Vinnie Politan's Code TV format is an upgrade on his Tangent podcast he started 2 years ago or so on his YouTube channel that he does with his buddies. Now, the Tangent podcast also has the same chair, the same microphone, the same camera angle as Vinnie Politan's Code TV, but with a Vinnie Live or Vinnie After Dark backdrop. I think it's CGI or Green Room. Like Politan told his subscribers a few months ago, Code TV is now going to aim for social media users than traditional broadcast format and be cheaper to produce with the ability to grow in new media, to increase distribution into audience and revenue so that it doesn't go out of business or air. Live trials have continued. Anyways, on Luigi Mangione's alleged killing of Brian Thompson, Politan spoke of the divide between Thompson, who rose from a working-class background to make it as a CEO, while Mangione is a scion of an extremely wealthy and influential family. Politan's fellow Tangenista lawyer, Albert Wunsch III, and radio personality Glenn Jones agreed. A day after Mangione's defense team backed out of extreme emotional distress as defense, Politan opined on Tangent podcast as follows. Quote, "There's a lot of irony there, but his frustration grew out of the surfing accident, and his life basically fell apart after that, because he was basically like living the life, working remotely, and surfing in Hawaii. Okay, this dude was not struggling. This dude was, and there's nothing wrong with being born with a silver spoon in your mouth. There's nothing wrong with that at all. I was born with a golden spoon in my mouth, but I'm not going around pretending to be some sort of hero and committing allegedly cold-blooded red rum. And here's the thing, right? Because there's going to be a lot of people who are going to say, oh, the insurance companies are evil. Okay, if you're Luigi Mangione and you've been given this gift of money and a brain, use it. Change legislation, Go to Washington, be a congressman like your uncle. Do things to actually affect change rather than destroy lives. There's a right way and a wrong way to do it. And because of who he was and what he was born into, he had a much easier way to do that. I mean, he was blessed with incredible intelligence, which he has. Not a great criminal, but great intelligence. And access to money and power and influence. That's how you change things. And he didn't do that. He didn't do that because this was not driven by anything like that. This was driven by frustration, perhaps a level of mental illness that he doesn't want to admit to. And, looking for a cause where he could become someone that people cared about. That was the other part of his life. Like, there was nothing significant about his life that was going on. He's a beach bum with emotional distress. That's who he is. So I just want to address that off the top because I know we are going to get a lot of comments from people who are anti-insurance companies. But that is not a defense here. It might be a defense for some potential jurors who want to, act out some level of nullification. But at the end of the day, he had a much better way to effectuate change than by doing this. Unquote. Megyn Kelly discussed Tyler Robinson, Luigi Mangione, and young men and what was going on with them, with Dr. Lynette Sachs, a psychologist, who is also the author of Collapse of Parenting, How We Hurt Our Kids When We Treat Them Like Grown-Ups. So Megyn Kelly introduced Dr. Sachs and then she said this, quote, "I get your thoughts to kick it off. What do you glean from the facts about the accused killer in connection with the murder of Brian Thompson? And Dr. Leonard Sachs replied, I think it's such an illuminating story, and I've seen this so much in my own practice as a family doctor now for more than 30 years. So many boys want to be heroes. They want to be seen as heroes. They want to see themselves as heroes in their own eyes. You know, I spoke some years ago at a conference on juvenile justice, statewide conference in New Mexico, and the topic was Boys Adrift, the title of one of my books. And after my presentation, they had a panel of 4 experts from across the state, and one was Judge John Romero, who's the chief of the juvenile judges in Albuquerque. And he said when he first began doing this work as a juvenile judge in Albuquerque, he was puzzled because all these teenage boys, good men, with great potential, were being accused of these horrible, violent crimes. And he would take them into his chambers and say, why are you doing this? Don't you understand? You're going to go to jail for decades. Why are you throwing your life away? And he told us it took him a long time to understand these boys want to be heroes. And the school doesn't understand that, but the gang understands it. The gang says, here's a gun, go and shoot the rival gang leader, and if you succeed, you're a hero. If you get killed trying, you're a hero. If you get thrown in jail, you're a hero. If you chicken out, you're a wuss. And then he looked right at us and he said, most of you, you don't know. Most of you, you don't. You're not from the barrio. And you're thinking, oh, I'm doing great. My son's not going to be in the juvenile justice system. He said, your son is no different. The difference between your son and the boys I see, your son is staying at home in his bedroom playing his video games. The difference between your son and the boys in my chambers is that your son is playing with pretend guns in his video game. But it's the same dynamic playing with pretend guns, being a pretend hero in his Call of Duty, in his Grand Theft Auto. In both cases, though, your son has left the real world in his fantasy world wanting to be a hero in his own mind. And that's the thing that's going on here. We have failed as a society to capture these boys to give them better role models, better ways to become a hero, to be a hero in the right way. Now coming back to my book Boys Adrift, where I talk about good role models, men like Dietrich Bonhoeffer, who gave his life for the right cause. Dietrich Bonhoeffer was a pastor, had a comfortable job preaching in New Jersey in 1938 and left that job, went back to Nazi Germany, put his life in jeopardy and joined the conspiracy to take the life of Adolf Hitler and was caught and was executed in concentration camp. Unquote. Much has been dissected about Internet's contribution and acceptance of these boys who will never get out of prison again if convicted, unless one believes the jury nullification theory being peddled in both of their cases, that no jury will convict Luigi Mangione because they believe him to be justified, that he hasn't done anything wrong or agree that system has to change, or that system is so corrupt that change can only come if things are taken in one's own hands. Erica Kirk, wife of the slain Charlie Kirk, has been quite vocal about how her husband's killer could be set free by such a jury, or that no jury will convict Tyler Robinson because 1 or 2 jurors may think that he was right in taking the life of a podcaster whose views were divisive and bordered on hate speech. She sat with CBS News' controversial editor-in-chief Barry Weiss in a town hall with pre-approved audience questions. Erica Kirk told Weiss that, quote, what I'm worried about, and I'm fascinated just from a legal standpoint to see how the United Healthcare trial pans out. And I say that because this is the first time where we are seeing the implications. It's fascinating to see how social media will impact that court case, just how it might impact mine. To which Barry Weiss asked her, are you nervous he's not going to get a fair trial? And Erica Kirk replied, I'm nervous that there could be. They'll say we can't find a fair jury, like they are going to taint the jury pool. And Barry Weiss interjected and asked her, that's how widespread you think these conspiracies have gone? And Erica Kirk replied, yes, that's how mainstream they have become. Unquote.